Well, this is not a boat accident. It wasn't any propeller. It wasn't any coral reef. And it wasn't Jack the Ripper. It was a shark.
Jaws is an iconic 1975 film directed by Steven Spielberg in his directorial debut that was at one time the highest-grossing film of all time. This movie takes a look at Martin Brody, played by Roy Scheider, who is the chief of police on the fictional New England beach town of Amity Island. After the partial remains of a young woman named Chrissy Watkins, played by Susan Back-Linney, wash up on the beach, the medical examiner quickly finds the cause of death to be a shark attack, and Chief Brody moves to close the beaches.
What you got there? Listen, we had a shark attack at South Beach this morning, Mayor. Fatal. I better batten down the beach.
The mayor, Larry Vaughn, played by Murray Hamilton, overrules him, fearing that the town's summer economy will be ruined. The medical examiner now concurs with the mayor's theory that a boat accident killed the girl.
You yell barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Soon after, a young boy is killed by a shark in front of beachgoers, including Brody and his wife Ellen, played by actress Lorraine Gary. A $3,000 bounty is placed on the shark, and local fishermen go into a frenzy attempting to catch it. A professional shark fisherman named Quint, played by actor Robert Shaw, offers his services for $10,000.
This shark, swallow you whole. Shaking, tenderizing, down you go. And we gotta do it quick. That'll bring back the tourists. That'll put all your businesses on a paying basis.
With the help of an oceanographer named Matt Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, Brody tries to calm a frantic town. When a massive man-eating tiger shark is killed by local fishermen, the mayor proclaims the town safe. But Hooper and Brody know that the real killer shark is still out there.
Now, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim.
After finding a chewed-up boat and another dead body, Hooper discovers a tooth from a great white shark.
The situation is that apparently a great white shark has staked a claim in the waters off Amity Island. And he is going to continue to feed here as long as there is food in the water.
Despite Brody and Hooper's pleas to the mayor to reconsider, the beaches remain open for the 4th of July.
I'm pleased and happy to repeat the news that we have in fact caught and killed a large predator that supposedly injured some bathers.
Tragedy strikes again when another person is killed, and Brody's oldest son, Michael, goes into shock.
Want to take him home?
Back to New York?
No. Home here.
Eventually, the mayor concedes, and Brody hires Quint to kill the shark.
What? What are you talking about? Larry, the summer is over. You're the mayor of Shark City. These people think you want the beaches open.
I was acting in the town's best interest.
That's right. You were acting in the town's best interest, and that's why you're going to do the right thing. That's why you're going to sign this, and we're going to pay that guy what he wants.
Quint, Brody, and Hooper all set sail on Quint's boat, the Orca, to go out to sea and try and kill the beast once and for all.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Directed by Steven Spielberg in his directorial debut, the film was based on a 1974 novel by Peter Benchley, who has a cameo appearance as a reporter on the beach. His original novel had subplots regarding romantic affairs and the mafia, All of that was seen by filmmakers as having weighed down the story, and the script was changed to make it more about the men versus the shark.
That's a 20-footer.
25. 3 tons on them.
Jaws was shot on location at Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts between May and October of 1974. As actor Richard Dreyfuss stated, there were many issues during production as they started filming, as he said, without a script, without a cast, and without a shark. Eventually, they used 3 mechanical sharks they named Bruce. Each shark cost $250,000. The filming was a long and arduous process, and among the crew, the movie earned the nickname Flaws. Jaws was the first motion picture shot at sea, and the budget increased to $9 million. The score was composed by John Williams. When Williams first played it for Steven Spielberg, Spielberg laughed and thought it was a joke. Eventually, he admitted that without John Williams' famous Jaws theme, the movie would only be half as successful as it was. John Williams, who would go on to score films including Star Wars, Superman, Home Alone, and Jurassic Park, would win an Academy Award for Best Original Dramatic Score, and the film would also go on to win Best Film Editing and Best Sound.
Robert L. Hoyt, Roger Heeman, Earl Mataray, and John Carter for Jaws.
According to writer Carl Gottlieb, the famous line,
"You're gonna need a bigger boat,"
was not scripted and was ad-libbed by actor Roy Scheider. When a Midwestern audience was shown an early cut of the film, the audience was so shocked by the shark popping up that drowned out the famous line. So the filmmakers added another 35 feet of film to give the audience enough time to quiet down to hear Brody's famous line.
Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
Robert Shaw had trouble with alcohol during filming, and during the first shoot of the USS Indianapolis scene, Shaw was so drunk that the scene was unusable. Late that night, a remorseful Robert Shaw called Steven Spielberg and asked if he could have another try at it. The next day, the famous scene was completed in a single take.
So 1,100 men went in the war. 316 men come out. The Sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945.
In the original script, Quint was killed off by drowning. The rope from the harpoon that he fires at the shark wraps around his foot, and he is pulled under by the shark, calling for Brody to give him the knife. This was also the way the character was killed off in the novel. However, it was decided by filmmakers that Quint should be eaten, as this would be the most tragic for his character based on his experiences on the USS Indianapolis. The film was originally rated R by the MPAA, but they trimmed a couple of frames off of the severed leg scene to give it a PG rating. Back in 1975, there was no PG-13. Jaws was released into theaters in June of 1975. It was originally supposed to have a Christmas 1974 release, but production led to a later date. In 1975, summer was typically when the worst films were released in theaters, since most Americans were enjoying outdoor activities.
From the best-selling novel, Jaws, rated PG, may be too intense for younger children.
Upon its release on June 20th, 1975, Jaws grossed a worldwide total of $193 million, making it, at the time, the highest-grossing film in all of history. Across all of its releases after the year 1975, Jaws grossed over $476 million. When adjusted for inflation, Jaws has earned over $2 billion at the box office. This film was the first of 3 that Steven Spielberg made that would each, for a time, become the highest-grossing film of all time worldwide. Jaws, 1975, highest-grossing film in world history. E.T., 1982, Steven Spielberg again, highest-grossing film in all of world history. Jurassic Park, 1993, another Universal, another Spielberg, highest-grossing film of all time. The tiger shark caught by the fishermen in the movie was a real shark caught and killed in Florida. By the time it had been shipped to the set in Martha's Vineyard, it was decomposing badly and the smell was appalling. As it was hung from its tail, all of its decomposing internal organs broke loose and piled into the back of its throat, adding to the discomfort of those who had to work close to it. Actor Robert Duvall encouraged Steven Spielberg to make the movie, and Spielberg wanted to repay him and offered him the role of Brody. Duvall declined and wanted to play Quint, but Spielberg felt that Robert Duvall was too young for that role. Charlton Heston wanted the role, but he was seen as being too big and too heroic to play the role of Brody. Actors Joseph Bologna and Gene Hackman were both considered for the role. Roy Scheider became interested in the project after he overheard Steven Spielberg at a party talking with a screenwriter about having a shark jump onto a boat. For the role of Quint, actor Lee Marvin was the very first choice, but he declined and said that he would rather go fishing. Robert Mitchum and Richard Boone were considered. The role seemed to be headed for actor Sterling Hayden, but he had IRS tax issues. So then the role went to Robert Shaw, who ironically also had tax issues. Joel Grey, Jeff Bridges, Timothy Bottoms, Jon Voight, and Jan Michael Vincent were all considered for the role of Hooper. Kevin Kline was offered the role, and he told Steven Spielberg that he knew someone who was an oceanographer and thought he might be able to play one. Spielberg then told Kevin Kline, "I don't want someone who knows someone who's an oceanographer, I want someone who is an oceanographer." Dustin Hoffman was also offered the role of Hooper before actor Richard Dreyfuss was cast. Actor Murray Hamilton was the very first choice and the only actor considered to play the role of the mayor of Amity.
This is not the time or the place to perform some kind of a half-assed autopsy on a fish.
For the role of the wife, Ellen Brody, producer Richard D. Zanuck wanted his then-wife Linda Harrison to play the role, but was unaware that Universal head Sid Sheinberg had his wife Lorraine Gary booked ahead for the role. Actress Victoria Principal was also considered. The movie actually cracked the top 10 box office listings in Labor Day weekend of 2022, 47 years after its initial release. And through cable airings, network television airings, and continued theatrical releases, this movie is always a hit.
A special 20th anniversary presentation of Jaws, next Saturday on TNT.
This film changed movies forever, especially with regards to the summer blockbuster. With many people not going to the movies in the summertime, Jaws proved to studios that you could make a ton of money with a huge, big, epic hit summer movie, and thus began the trend of summertime blockbuster films. I first saw this movie as a very young kid, and I've seen thousands of films, and Jaws would likely rank in my top 5 of all time. It's really, really great. It's a classic that only gets more and more popular with age, including among my generation of millennials and even those younger than myself.
Smile, you son of a...
Jaws is a wonderful movie, and you should watch it again before the next time you go in the water.